Well, hey, going off of that, kind of in the same vein, I could do my Vikings series review right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my gosh. So, how much do you know about Vikings, like the show?
Nada.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, so Vikings is a series, and I'm going to do a series review because I finally so Vikings is a show about Vikings, and it goes through a ton of time. Like there's probably it probably takes place in a 30-year period over 6 seasons, I would say. So there's quite a
Oh,
bit of time, but it centers around one character named Ragnar, and then ends up going into his sons in the later seasons. But it was original on the History Channel, actually.
really?
Yeah, it was on the History Channel, and it is one of the best series of all time. Like it is
Wow.
up there with Game of Thrones for me. It's so like far under the radar. It is brutal. It's bloody, and I can't believe it came out on the History Channel. For whatever reason, I think I don't know exactly what happened, but they dropped it for the final season, and then Amazon picked it up. Of course, here comes in Amazon, and Amazon. I think they came out with the last two half seasons, so season 6A and 6B. I think they came out with both of those, and it's amazing. I couldn't speak uh, praise more for this show. It gets everything down from the bloodiness of battles and the realism and the set design to the scale of things. I mean, there are battles on this that are as big of battles as like Battle of Helm's Deeps.
Wow.
Helm's
So it
Deep. Like
actually, so
there's
it's actually tops like it's actually on par with like Helm's Deep and like
Game of
the
Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I only seen like maybe one or two battle scenes. I remember the oh god, the guy holding the door. I remember seeing that one random
Hold the
episode.
door.
Yeah, I remember seeing like
Yeah,
that
I
kind
mean,
of
there's
scale.
like the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones. That kind of stuff is pretty. I mean, it's not like Battle of the Bastards, and if you and this is Game of Thrones specifically, is it's one battle where it gets to the point where there's so many bodies on the field of the battlefield that they're literally fighting on top of bodies. So there are mountains of bodies, and
Oh,
then
so
they end up
they
using the
just stack them and
bodies.
stacking them. To,
Yeah, so they actually use the bodies as a wall, and they end
sick.
up getting surrounded by the bodies. So it's pretty brutal. But that's almost like unrealistic. This is very grounded, but you could still feel the scale of things. Like there's a couple times. So obviously it follows Ragnar, and this is like the golden age of Vikings. And Ragnar it does follow slight historical concepts. That's why it was on History Channel. A lot of the stuff that goes onto it is like Norse myth, and if you like Thor, and if you like all the stuff with Odin and everything that's in like God of War,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, you'll like this. So it follows Ragnarok, who basically is the first real Viking that um, really encourages the Scandinavians to stop fighting one another as tribes and go start pillaging people. Because Vikings are obviously known as like the pirates of the, northern Europe area, in that time. So it really goes into him becoming like the most known and most famous Viking of all time, going into England from like Norway and just ransacking the town. They end up they end up going into France and conquering France. It ends up going back into Russia. It goes all over the place and throughout the series. There's also the other part that I would say outside of like a phenomenal set design and phenomenal costume design, like those things, the music is fantastic. Like it's the best music. It's seriously one of the best
Mm.
series. Yeah, I really think you should watch like the first season and tell me what you think about it. But the music is awesome. And then also, gosh, what was I going to say? There was one other thing I wanted to mention.
There was costume, set
Oh,
design.
so they're going into all these little areas. They're going into England, they're going into France, they're in Norway. They all speak foreign languages, so they handle that very, very well.
So
Um,
everyone had a they couldn't like speak to one another because they had different.
no, but the Vikings learn dialects. Like they're not just like stupid pirates. They are like they're super, super smart, and they'll learn dialects. So like with the first time they interact with a different kingdom, they'll have to learn the dialect, and they like show that process. And everything's in English.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Everything's in English in the most part. But like say for the first time they go to France, so the French will start speaking French. They don't, and then like in the show, the if the Vikings can't understand them, you'll hear it in French. And then as they conquer it and as they acclimate to that culture, the French will start speaking English because then the viewer will understand it. So there's things like
Yeah,
that
that's
are just
pretty
so
little
key
small
to like.
details.
Yeah, I mean, and they go into, I mean, there are like probably seven different dialects in this, at least, yeah, at least five that I can think of right off the top of my head, without even remembering all some of the younger of the older seasons that I haven't seen in years. I'm telling you right now, if you like Game of Thrones, if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like that kind of blood and gore, the first couple seasons are fantastic because it follows Ragnar and his brother, and then they've got a couple friends, and then you have the women in this show are awesome. Like the women are just as they're all shield maidens, so they follow that whole Viking
Oh, so
lore
they
of
fight
like
along
the
with them
women
too.
are
That's pretty
fighting
cool.
too, and it is super cool. Like you like all there's not a lot of characters in this show that you don't like, and if you hate them, you hate them for like good
For the
reason, like
bad, yeah,
Joffrey from
good
Game of
reasons.
Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of people like that. Like you will end up hating his brother at certain points, but his brother is one of the coolest characters of all time. And his brother in history is actually a real Viking that lived in the time. End up raiding France and setting his ground in France. If you know anything like I think William the Conqueror is this guy's like great great grandson. So like there's this whole lore. Like if you get into it, there are characters in the show that are actual like historians can trace back the bloodline to like these people. So
Like,
like
this is
it's
the
not crazy.
ancestor
We're
type
talking like
thing.
500, 600 years ago. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy good.
Huh.
Um, it's awesome. It go really another aspect of it is it goes and obviously these guys are Vikings and they worship the pagan gods as everyone they worship Odin and Freya and Frey and Thor and all these people and so they're really really religious like they are they want to get to Valhalla so like if they die in it's very
In battle.
Spartan-esque where if they die in battle they're going to go to Valhalla so they come upon England and then England's all at this point in time like the Pope is around so like the English are now Christian and they're very very Catholic so there's monks and there's they find out where the monks are and but then they start clashing and one of the biggest outside of like the battle between like these physical battles between two armies is the battle between these two religions and like the way the Vikings rationalize some of like the gods and how they guide them through life is just I'm telling you right now I couldn't speak highly enough. I've been watching this show for 4 or 5 years and then like it's probably been longer. It's probably been 6 or 7 like well before the girls were born and the girls are 4
Wow.
but it's one of those things that like they would go off for like 2 years and not do a season, and then it would come back, and then like the last couple seasons, basically the last couple seasons are really centered around Ragnar's 4 sons. He has 4 sons from all different women and stuff. So there's like this whole background of like who these people are, their relationship one another, their relationship to Ragnar, and all their their uncles and. Once you get into that, it's just it's awesome because the sons each have like this character of Ragnar because Ragnar's very like skeptical of religion, but he's also like curious about the Christian faith. He's also an explorer and a warrior, and he's brutal, and he's it's just so good. Yeah, I couldn't speak the praise high enough of this. The series finale, I thought the last 2 seasons of it were pretty weak. And I don't want to give any spoilers away for any of this because it's like it's worth me just ranting about it, just so Gabe that you watch this. The last couple seasons really center more so around his sons and some of their later conquests and the way it wraps everything up and again kind of going to like the echoes of how I was talking to Lord of the Rings and how the second age or the third age echoes the second age in the lore and stuff.
Hmm.
The season finale echoes a ton of the stuff from the earlier seasons with Ragnar when it's centered around Ragnar. And when you watch it, it's like if you were binge watching this and you had just seen season 4 like in the same couple weeks, you would catch all this stuff. And I haven't seen like some of the older seasons in a very long time, like season 1 and 2. Like there were callbacks to that. And if you hadn't been watching it for a long time, I feel like you might miss it. I caught that stuff and I was still I mean, I haven't seen it for years. That's how good it was. And I didn't think it hit you over the head, but it made its point and it was good. I've heard they're going to make a sequel. I hope they don't because they don't need to make a sequel. It finished
Just
perfectly.
just end it. Leave it there.
Um,
Leave it.
I'm so happy with this show. I couldn't recommend it more enough. But that's all I've got to say. Vikings is like a probably like an 8.59 out of 10 for me as a
Hmm.
series. So
That's dope. I was kind of surprised it actually was on the History Channel of all channels. The Vikings would be on that station. of all things, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
it gets to Amazon. I
it honestly is like the one thing that's on History Channel that I don't know how it's on History Channel. It's kind of like when Breaking Bad came out on AMC. Like, did you ever hear about AMC before Breaking Bad?
Nope.
I don't remember
Nope.
AMC at all. Like
Maybe like the beginning of The Walking Dead, but that was like
yeah, but that was
what's
before
Walking Dead?
that was after Breaking Bad. So
Oh
like
yeah, that's
I
true.
didn't know anything about AMC at all until Breaking Bad, and then I got into Mad Men and stuff, but it's kind of like that with history. Like the History Channel, like I never watch it. It's always just documentaries and
Oh, yeah, just recent
men in the
old
Yukon
history.
mountains
Yeah.
gold digging or whatever. And this show is like the show that started them actually getting into very, very, very good television because they've got another couple series too. And I don't know if they've been canceled. I haven't looked into any of this stuff for the History Channel, but this show is like it's top notch. I bet you if you looked at the cost for that final season, you'd be shocked about how much it costs for at least the season 6A and 6B. I bet you it'd be pretty insane because each of them are 10 episodes long too.
Oh man,
I don't
10.
know, man. It's pretty good.
Then I will have
That's all
to
I got to say about that.
I will have to definitely check this Viking out. I was gonna tell you the only thing I know about Vikings is when I know Assassin's Creed made a Viking simulation of their game.
Yeah, don't go into thinking like that. That's like fantastical, and this there. Yeah, I mean there's some elements. I mean, there's probably some elements that you would recognize from that. I bet you there's characters and I never played Valhalla, but
I
I
didn't
bet you
either.
there's some elements, characters into that game if you ever played it. I guarantee you there's some that ring
Like,
true. I think Ragnar is actually
I was gonna say they'll probably
that
hint
game.
like that. Yeah, that Ragnar would. You would think like a
Yeah.
character like that would be, be like a Easter egg or something like that. You know.
He's got to be. I think I saw something on YouTube or something that was recommended that showed Ragnar in the movie. Now Ragnar in like Viking history, they don't even know if he's a real character or not. But it's just you got to watch it. I can't say I'm like holding back on saying some things that I don't want to spoil it for you because I know you would love this show, especially if you binge watched it. Like if you watched 5 episodes and you didn't like it, then put it down. But if you watched 5 episodes or watch the first season just getting to see Ragnar come into his own. There's no way you couldn't like it.
Hmm.
It's awesome. The main character is the same guy who plays. I cannot remember this guy's name, but a lot of the actors in this, like there are no name actors. Like
Oh, really?
there's
No name at all. Like not like a.
no. I mean, so I think it's one of the Skarsgård guys. Yeah, Alexander Skarsgård, the guy from Thor, the scientist, and he's the guy who helps get the Tesseract in Avengers. He's
Oh,
one
he's
of
in
his
there.
like brothers. No, he's not. But one of his
Oh.
brothers is in it.
Okay.
But like so that whole family is super good actors. He's in it. Um, and then the guy from who plays the main character in World of Warcraft, the semi-animated one, he's the
Oh,
main character. He's
I don't know.
Ragnar. Yeah, but yeah, other than that, you might recognize the Bjorn, who's his oldest son, He's also in the Hunger Games. He's the blonde guy in the second one, who's got the
Okay.
spear. He plays a small role. He's from District 1. He's kind of a dick, but he's probably my favorite character in the whole show is Bjorn. So,
Oh, okay.
uh, dude, you gotta check it out. Gotta check it out.
Well, you
Get Dylan to get it
get
on
get it on
Plex and
Plex.
get season 1. Yeah.
I was gonna say you recommended me Invincible, so I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And then all of a sudden, watched the first episode. I'm like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Game of Thrones, it's funny because this show came out around the same time as the first season of Game of Thrones. So that's how like it just wrapped up season 6. So it took some time, and it's crazy how under the radar I feel like this show. Nobody talks about this show. Like no one. I feel like no one talks about how good this series is, and it's phenomenal. It's a very very good show. I mean, it has its low points for sure, and it's got some dry episodes that are crap, but for the most part, as a series as a whole, I could not recommend it
Well,
enough. There's not a lot of filler. It's more Breaking Bad-esque where there's not a lot of filler episodes like The Walking Dead where you have 20 plus
like
episodes a
20
season.
episodes of filler.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's everything
Okay.
has a meaning in the long term.
Well, I was gonna say if Alex Dillon to put it on Plex, we'll do the whole podcast devoted to Vikings. We'll talk about it.
Dude, Dude, I'd love to hear you can do it. We can do an episode a season at a time,
Yep,
and
and just
I'd
talk
be all
about it.
for it, man.
All right. All right. Well, we'll leave it right. We'll leave it